Welcome back to Starkiller Base. Today we have the round 4 featured match from the Black Knight Games February 2017 Winter Kit. Had a bit of technical difficulties at the beginning of this game and I missed the first minute, but it looks like Jeff won the initiative roll and took his battlefield, which is the Emperor's Throne Room. Put 2 holocrons out on Grievous. Qui-Gon rolled in and did 3 damage. Rey has a discard and a +1 resource. And Grievous rolled in, got a blank, a holocron special, a 2 melee, and a 1 resource. Jeff resolved the special on one of the holocrons there, put in a mind probe, and then paid 1 to roll it in and got a blank. Jeff is using the Broken Egg Games tokens there, so if you look to just on the screen just below Dooku there, he's got that resource crate. So Jeff was having some pretty big success with his Grievous Dooku deck. I know there was a lot of talk about it early on in the meta, but it seems to have petered out a bit here. Juan resolved the discard and hit Jeff's holocron, so that was definitely a good pull there. So you're probably wondering where the round 3 featured game went, and unfortunately we had some technical difficulties and lost the recording of that one. So we just skipped ahead to round 4. Deal 5 damage to Rey. So Jeff claimed, resolved the Mind Probe special, and put 5 damage into Rey. So that is a pretty rough first start there. Actually, may have been worth giving up Dooku's die and the melee and the resource there to do the 5 damage. So Juan plays Willpower to move 1 damage from Rey into Grievous. So even though that 5 damage came through, it's actually pretty even here. Juan's got more shields, so he's got more effective hit points, if you don't consider Dooku's ability. So Jeff effectively gave up on using 4 dice that turn to do the Mind Probe, but 5 damage is pretty darn good. So Juan was surprised that Jeff had claimed there. He thought it was Jeff's turn. So I'm not sure what he can do here, depending on what events he's got in his hand or whatnot. I mean, rerolling the Rey die is not terrible, but... Okay, so he plays defensive stance, puts 2 shields on Qui-Gon, and does 1 damage to Grievous, so Grievous is half dead now. Jeff's plan for this deck was basically that Grievous was a decoy. The idea was that you load up Dooku while Grievous is taking his beatings. It looks like he's sort of changed plans for that one for this game. Juan played Take Cover, did another damage to Grievous there. So Grievous has 4 hit points remaining, and then he passed, and they start the next round.
Let's activate.
So Jeff rolls in Grievous first, gets a blank on the holocron, a 3 ranged for 1, a 2 melee, and a 1 disrupt. He has yet to take his 2 resources for the turn, but you can see on the overlay he's got it marked there.
Yeah. Oh, and I've got 2 more.
All right. I will spend 2. I'll put a gap.
There we go. So lucky for Juan, the Mind Probe die and Grievous's die don't match, so it'll take 2 actions to take care of that. But Juan plays out a Mind Trick. Deciding how to split up your dice when your opponent plays Mind Trick on you is actually one of the tougher decisions in Destiny, I find. So I'm assuming Jeff will split up the Mind Probe die and the 2 melee die here. Grievous's dice are too dangerous, so I would take whatever. There we go. Definitely get rid of those 3, I think, and let him do the 3 damage. Grievous has too many melee sides and that holocron special to leave those dice in play. Interesting, okay. So Juan got rid of the 3 guaranteed damage and left Jeff with a lot more options there. So we'll see if he can reroll and get some good stuff out of that. So Jeff's rolling in Dooku. Gets a 1 focus, so there's a good reason why he should have gotten rid of that other Grievous die. Juan rolls in Ray, gets a 1 discard and a 1 melee. When Grievous dies here, it's actually not going to look very good for Dooku from the looks of it here. I mean, he'll have 1 die. Currently has no upgrades on him, so hopefully Jeff can get some upgrades on Dooku or override a Mind Probe with a lightsaber or something like that. So just discarding to re-roll. He gets a focus on the holocron, has Dooku's focus and a 2 melee on the Grievous die. So Jeff could focus Dooku's die to 2 melee and then do 6 damage and take out Ray. Juan puts 1 damage to Grievous there. Yep, so there's the 6 melee damage here. So Juan has no resources and probably no tricks to take care of that. So he resolves that last Ray die there. Discards a card from Jeff's hand and hits Isolation.
6 damage.
Jeff puts 6 damage into Ray, killing her. Juan's here again in his classic Juan style with no upgrades in play. Rolls in Qui-Gonn and has 2 shields and 2 shields in the dice there. So Qui-Gonn's here to stay, but Jeff doesn't have any dice to take away those shields. So that's basically just going to be 2 damage.
You can use that to give yourself a shield, spend a shield, and then deal damage, right?
Yes. So basically, I get 2 shields out of this.
So Jeff's just asking for some clarification on Qui-Gonn's ability there.
So I can give you 1 damage at a time. That's what it is.
I'll pay 1 to remove a die.
1? Okay.
So Jeff pays 1 for Isolation, removes 1 of the Qui-Gonn dice, and then 1 resolves the other Qui-Gonn die to essentially just ping Grievous for 1 there. That's probably going to be it for the turn.
Pay 1.
Jeff pays 1 for the Emperor's Favor, which increases his hand size by 1. And then Juan claims. So Juan's got to take out Grievous really fast here. Something like a riposte would be ideal. He could roll in Qui-Gonn, but it might take 2 actions to kill him. In which case, Grievous will have the turn to roll in and then a turn to resolve damage. So that's not a good thing. On the other hand, playing an upgrade on Qui-Gonn isn't going to do him much good because it'll slow him down even more. But he has those 3 shields to take a hit from if he really needs to. So the Emperor's Favor is really interesting to include in Jeff's deck. I haven't seen anybody really play that. It's not bad with Dooku because then he's got more cards to discard. But it also makes you more vulnerable to Mind Probe, I guess. Juan pays 1 for Return of the Jedi. He's going to dig into his discard pile and grab a defensive stance. That provides him with 1 of the 2 damage he needs to kill Grievous.
Give me shields.
Okay. Well, let's get rid of all your shields.
And Jeff has a timely Intimidate to get rid of all of Juan's shields. So that's definitely not what Juan wanted to see there. So Qui-Gonn's rolling in, gets a blank and a 2 shield.
Let's activate.
Jeff rolls in Grievous, gets a Mind Probe special, a 1 resource, a blank on the holocron, and a 2 melee. So that's... Juan's got 5 cards in hand, so that's 5, 6, 7 damage. That's not what Qui-Gonn's looking to see across the board from him. He's got a resource to get rid of something, but I'm not sure what he could use to get rid of anything. He could use the Force to set something to a blank. He could play Force Misdirection, wouldn't really do anything because the only thing he's got is a shield and a blank.
Pay 1. 2 shields.
So he puts Defensive Stance in. It's a good call. Makes the Mind Probe do 1 less damage, and then those 2 shields will absorb some of it as well. So that was Mind Probe for 4. 2 absorbed by shields and 2 on Qui-Gonn. It was looking pretty bad for Jeff at the beginning there when Grievous was almost dead, but it looks like Jeff is making a comeback here. He's still got 3 dice in play there, and Dooku, and Juan's just got that 1 blank die. He's got a 1 in 6 chance of killing Grievous if he re-rolls it, if Jeff doesn't have any sort of die control. So Jeff plays out a forced throw which could really ruin Juan's day if he does roll that 2 melee. So Juan re-rolls and gets a 1 resource.
Activate.
Dooku comes in here with a 2 discard for 1 and a 1 disrupt. Jeff's got no money, so the 2 discard is not doing much, and the 1 disrupt isn't going to do much either. Jeff can always claim and turn the Force Throw into a special and throw the discard into Juan or something like that if he wanted to. He's got a lot of options. The Emperor's Throne is a really interesting battlefield for a deck like Jeff's, particularly against Juan's deck when Juan has no upgrades out. I mean, the Rey Qui-Gon deck does have upgrades that have specials on them, but they're just not in play right now. Juan plays Take Cover and uses Qui-Gon's ability to put 1 damage into Grievous, so Grievous only has 1 hit point left, so it'd be really nice if he could get rid of him there.
I'll do 1 damage to you. I'll do another 1 damage to you.
Jeff takes a resource.
And
He's probably going to try to get rid of Juan's hand next action. I think Juan could discard and reroll now before Dooku takes away his whole hand, since he's going to lose both of them anyway. Qui-Gon's die has 4 sides that can kill Grievous, so it's definitely a good call if he can do it. And let's see what he does here. With Grievous gone, this will be a close game again.
I'm going to tap this to give this ambush. Hold up with a blaster. Yep. Turn a 1 resource. Yep.
Well, I'm just giving this some deep thought here. It's a shame he doesn't have his battlefield in play here. He could just have claimed it. Juan was running Echo Base, of course, today. He could have claimed it and then used Qui-Gon's ability to kill Grievous outright. But that Emperor's Throne Room is currently doing nothing for him, sadly.
How much damage do you have? 5? 5, yeah.
It's a really tough call on who to kill in this Grievous Dooku deck. It would be lovely if you could kill Dooku first. But, I mean, realistically, Grievous is going to beat on you while Dooku's discarding cards to stay alive. So it's not a good call if you can avoid it. And Grievous also has 2 dice to Dooku's 1. So Juan rerolls and gets a resource again.
You got 3 shields?
And Jeff does 2 damage into Qui-Gon, which is all absorbed by shields.
Play that. I will remove this, and I will remove that. And I will play
With the 1 resource Jeff has there and the die sides he's showing, it may be worthwhile just to discard and reroll again.
Take the resource.
your turn.
I'll claim.
Oh my god.
So Jeff claims and I guess resolves the Holocron special to put Immobilize on Grievous. Seems like Grievous is going to be dead and not be able to use that, but I guess he wants to get his Holocron back in his hand. He could have also claimed and used the Force Throw to put the 2 discard Dooku die into Qui-Gon if he wanted to.
I'll activate.
Jeff is rolling in Grievous first, which is always a good call. Juan does not have any shields on Qui-Gon, otherwise he'd be able to potentially kill Grievous before he could resolve any of his dice. Grievous rolls in with a 2 melee, a 2 discard, a blank, and a 1 resource. And then Juan plays a Force Training out on Qui-Gon, so he's got an upgrade in play there. It's good to get some extra dice on the table. Jeff just needs to remember to fix his board state. There he's got there we go. Got 1 character exhausted that shouldn't be, and the character that should be exhausted isn't. So Jeff plays out the Holocron on Dooku, which is the right call. You get that Holocron off of Grievous since he's about to die and put it on Dooku and get some more Force ability upgrades rolling on him.
Okay. This might be it.
Juan rolls in Qui-Gon, gets a 2 melee, a 2 shield, and a focus on the Force Training.
7 with shield.
So this could be it for Grievous, but he's done a heck of a lot of work. He's also got that immobilized. I take that back. He did not replace the immobilized die on the Holocron.
Pay 1. Activate this. Discard your hands.
reversal.
How many?
Oh, yeah.
So Jeff is using the power of the Force on the 2 discard to turn it into a 4 discard and remove Juan's entire hand.
2 damage.
Yeah, I had, if it didn't work out, I had another attack from master. Just gonna keep rerolling the dice.
If Jeff had thought about the immobilize there, he could have used immobilize to blank the Qui-Gon die there. But dumping Juan's hand is also fun.
Spin 2.
Jeff pays 2 for a Force choke on Dooku. So Dooku very quickly now has 3 upgrades on him already. Not that the holocron is all that dangerous to die by itself.
I got screwed my last 2 games for upgrades. Well,
So Juan now has a die out there that can be turned into a special with the battlefield, which isn't a bad choice.
getting the Sith holocron. Can you sub out?
But he's got no cards, so chances are he's going to take the 2 shields on Qui-Gon, and then next action claim and resolve the Force training special. I think that's what I'd do. I mean, it's not like he's going to bluff that he's got die control in his hand when he's got no hand, so.
Yeah, because I think against that
Jeff rolls in Dooku, gets a Force throw special, a 2 disrupt, a blank, and a blank. So I think now is definitely the time for Juan to claim before that die gets thrown at him. So Juan claims.
Turn 1 of your dice to showing a special.
Hopefully he'll. There we go. Resolves the Force training special.
Use it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
With Qui-Gon, the Force training special can actually turn into 2 damage if he's got a shield on him. So
I'll discard a card.
Yeah, because against that, I just focus on
Getting a shield pinging you again.
so Juan does 1 damage to Dooku and then gains a shield and uses Qui-Gon's ability. Jeff discards 2 cards to prevent that damage.
Throw this to do damage.
Jeff throws the 2 disrupt into Qui-Gon, gets rid of his shields, and then passes. So now we see the power of the Emperor's favor here when Dooku has 6 cards in his hand in a 1v1 match here. Hopefully Juan can get some more upgrades out on Qui-Gon. If Jeff uses the holocron to get out another Force ability upgrade, then Dooku's going to have a pretty marked advantage over Qui-Gon there. So Juan's just giving it some thought here. He rolls in Qui-Gon. Gets a 1 ranged, a 2 shield, and a blank. Jeff rolls in Dooku. He gets a focus, a Force throw special, a blank, and a blank.
2. Mind trick.
Juan plays Mind Trick here.
Is split up.
Split.
So Jeff gets to split his dice into 2 different groups of any size of his choice, and then Juan gets to choose and remove one of those groups.
Wait. What I got in my hand.
If Juan leaves the Force throw out there, then Qui-Gon's 2 shield die is going to get thrown into him, and that'll be a 4 damage swing effectively, so Jeff's probably going to put it by itself there. Looks like he did.
Yeah. Let's do this.
It's awfully dangerous to leave Dooku's focus and the holocron out there,
I'll pitch and
so
shield.
it was a tough call, but probably the right one. So Jeff threw the 2 shield die into Qui-Gon.
1 damage.
And Juan is doing 1 damage into Dooku. And Jeff discards a card. Jeff pays 2 for the power of the dark side. So you got a little suite of supports out there. And there's not too much left for Juan to do here. He can re-roll. He re-rolls his die, and he gets 2 shields, so that's not a bad side to pull. Jeff claims the battlefield Juan takes 2 shields. And he hasn't passed yet, so Jeff's jumping the gun a little bit there. One of the interesting things about Dooku is that he's one of the only characters in the game that allows you to actually mitigate damage after you've claimed the battlefield, because typically you need to use die control cards or whatnot to do so, but Dooku can just discard cards from his hand. So Juan plays It Binds All Things and then passes. So hopefully he can get an upgrade to use it. It Binds All Things. Because looking at this board state, it's not looking good for Mr. Qui-Gon there. Of course, when Jeff starts to run out of cards in his deck from all that discarding to save Dooku, maybe things will change. Jeff rolls in Dooku, gets a Holocron special, a focus, a 2 disrupt, and a 1 disrupt. With 6 cards in his hand, chances are he probably has something to use with that Holocron special, but we'll see. Sometimes people don't, and as the opponent, you generally still try to mitigate that die anyway, just in case. When you can resolve the Holocron special, pay 1 to roll in something like a Mind Probe, and then potentially get the special on it and resolve that special in that same action. It's pretty deadly. I had a play the other day where I had the Force Throw special and the Force Choke special, and I was able to choke Django and turn his jetpack to the +3 modified range damage side, and then in the same action throw that 3 damage right into his face. It was pretty glorious. So one's giving it some pretty deep thought here. Looks like he's going to play an upgrade out there, though. He moved his force training over. So I'm guessing he's got a couple of them in his hand and he was just deciding which one to play. So he plays Jedi Robes. And he uses Qui-Gon's ability to do 1 damage to Dooku. And he finally puts a damage to Dooku. So both players right now have the same effective hit points if you don't include Dooku's ability. And Jeff played a Mind Probe on Dooku with that Holocron special. Gets the Mind Probe special. Resolves it immediately to do 4 damage to Qui-Gon, which is a brutal swing. Juan pays 1 for defensive stance. Gets those shields back on Qui-Gon. They're never gone very long, are they? And Jeff answers with an Intimidate to get rid of those shields. Juan overwrites a Jedi Robes with a Jedi Robes to put a shield on Qui-Gon. Maybe Jeff will be using that focus die to set the Force Throw to a special or something like that to prepare for when Qui-Gon rolls in. Jeff pays 1 for Power of the Force to resolve 3 focus and sets both the Force Choke and the Force Throw into a special side, so that's pretty good. He's now daring Qui-Gon to roll in his dice so that he can blank one and throw the other one at him. This is actually the situation I was just talking about with Django's jetpack, so we'll see what happens here. Juan overwrites Jedi Robes with raised staff, and then Jeff passes. So if Juan rolls in here, Jeff could Force Choke raised staff to 3 melee, and then Force Throw it right at him. So he could do 4 damage in that shot, which would put Juan at 2 hit points left, I believe. So Juan, looks like Juan's got a bit of a problem here. He could theoretically just claim the battlefield here and call it a day for that round. So in comes Qui-Gon. Gets a 1 shield, a blank, and a Force Training special. That's not a bad roll to roll into a Force Throw and Force Choke.
Yes, I'm gonna throw a shield at you.
I guess.
So Jeff force throws the shield into Qui-Gon. And I think I would be force choking Qui-Gon. And,
One damage to him. And one
oh,
shield
looks
to
like
me.
he didn't resolve both of them.
Okay.
Maybe saving the choke for rerolls. So Qui-Gon resolves the force training special and does a shield and a damage. Jeff discards a card to avoid that damage.
I'll deal damage and turn this to.
Jeff blank Qui-Gon's die and does one unblockable damage to Qui-Gon. So Qui-Gon may actually be happy to see the unblockable damage because it means that he's still got that shield. He discards riposte. Rerolls 2 blanks to get 2 blanks. Boo. Jeff claims and Juan passes because that was his last card. That's never what you want to see when you discard your last card,
Why
but
am I preaching that?
sometimes it happens.
This.
Looks like Jeff is done with his holocron there. It's done plenty of work this game.
Okay. Let's get my 2 money.
By the way, sorry if my
With these defensive dice that Jeff has, definitely good to roll Dooku in first action. So Jeff rolls him in. He gets a blank, a 2 disrupt, a 2 disrupt, and a 1 focus. Juan basically has 2 actions before he gets something thrown in his face, so he probably should roll in Qui-Gon first. Because then if Jeff focuses the force throw into a special, then Juan can still resolve a few dice potentially before it gets back in his face there. Juan overwrites Ray's staff with a force training. He's spending a lot of cards overwriting here, so I don't know how many he has left in his deck, but he's got to be running a little low. I guess it's not a bad call, just in case that Mind Probe special comes out. Get a 1 less card in your hand, I suppose. He could have just paid 1 for it with the Binds All Things and put it in play, though. So maybe he's got plans for those 2 resources that we don't know about.
I'll claim. Give you 4 damage.
Jeff claims the battlefield, turns the Mind Probe into a special, does 4 damage to Qui-Gon. So Qui-Gon has 1 hit point left. And Dooku has 9 and a mitt full of cards. So this should be interesting. Second action or so next round, if Jeff claims the battlefield and does the Mind Probe special again, then Qui-Gon is done for. So hopefully Juan can put some serious damage into Dooku on this turn. Looks like Juan has the lightsaber die out on the force train there, so it's always good to audit your opponent and make sure they've got the right dice out there. I've seen games where my opponent resolved a holocron and put in a card, but left the holocron die in play and then rolled it out as well as everything else next turn, and it changed the course of the game. So Juan overwrites a force training with Luke's lightsaber and rolls in. He still has that lightsaber die in there, so hopefully he'll see that. He gets a 1 shield, a 3 melee for 1 on that lightsaber die, which shouldn't be there. And I think he's realizing now. Yep. He has a 2 shield and a blank. He's got the wrong die, takes it back, and rolls the force training instead.
No damage, so I creep back.
The modified side on force training will definitely help out
1.
in taking Dooku down.
Exhausted character, 1 damage to him.
Dooku is not a good matchup for a Qui-Gon deck since everything comes in ones, basically.
Yes. To an opponent exhausted character, these ignore shields.
So Jeff is wondering about willpower there. Willpower moves the damage, and move damage is never dealt, so it's sort of like backup muscle. So you can't actually use Dooku's ability to discard a card to gain a shield. That works on unpreventable damage, or unblockable damage rather, but not on move damage. So Juan now has 2 hit points on Qui-Gon. I think he should probably try to connect some of that melee damage up.
3 shields.
He takes 3 shields, so technically he can survive a 4 damage Mind Probe hit.
Scarred.
He rerolls, gets the +3 melee, which is no good. Discards a lightsaber. Rerolls. Ooh. Gets a lucky roll. The 3 melee for 1 does 5 damage to Dooku.
Discard this one. So I take 3.
So Dooku now has 5 hit points remaining. And it's a pretty close game. It's getting pretty tense here.
Draw 2 cards.
Jeff's definitely eager to roll in Dooku. First action here. Juan needs to get rid of one of his cards there, but it looks like it's over now. Because even if he discards a card, that Mind Probe special and the Force Stroke special will win. So Jeff rolled in. He got a 1 resource, a 1 disrupt, a Mind Probe special, and a Force Stroke special. I don't think there's anything Juan can do here to survive this. That's right now at 6 damage. If he discards a card, it's 5 damage, and that's all he's got left. So Juan rolls in Qui-Gon. Gets a 1 resource, a 2 melee, and a blank. Oh, I see the problem. Juan doesn't have enough cards. He doesn't have 5 cards.
So
What you want to do?
cards in hand.
I got 3.
So Juan has 3 cards in hand, which is not enough for the kill.
3 damage. What's this?
So Jeff's resolving specials.
Getting rid of your shields, I suppose.
Oh, were you out of cards in your deck?
Oh, I'm done.
Oh, I thought you had 5 cards in that. I thought it was over.
Yeah, so do I.
So the Mind Probe special does 3 damage to Juan. The Force Stroke will do 1 more, and that will leave him with 1 hit point left. So Jeff can claim the battlefield and force throw something into Juan next action, which would kill him. Unless Juan has a way to get some shields here. With only 3 cards left in his hand and no shields on his dice, that's a little unlikely, but you never know. So Juan is discarding to reroll. He gets a shield, a resource, a blank, and a blank. And then Jeff claims
1 damage to you.
and throws 1 damage into Juan for the kill. So that's the GG. So that was a pretty interesting match, definitely. I hope you liked it. If you do, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we'll have the top 4 and finals coming up soon. So keep an eye out for that. Thanks for watching, everybody.